Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome. This is day 2 of Progress Showcase stream, and I can hear myself lovely. Okay, today we'll have 8 teams, so one more than we had last Friday. We'll start with Lasagna games, and then we'll move down the road. So the stream will last from now until 5, and throughout the stream, if you can see below, if you type exclamation mark team name, no spaces, then you will be able to grab a Twitter handle of whichever team member or whichever team I'm chatting to. And yeah, should be a nice day. I'll be chatting about the games and how the projects are going, whether you are a publisher, a game dev, or just anyone supporting. This should hopefully be a nice insight to see how the teams are doing. Um, Team name itself doesn't do anything in chat. it's the it's the actual team name that you replace the team name with. For example, we can do a bit of a tutorial while we are getting started. For example, if I get Lasagna Games and type it with the exclamation mark, there we go. You'll have the Twitter handle of the team. Nice and easy. Okay, so yeah, we'll soon be starting with the first members. I'll go away and set that up, and I'll be back with you guys shortly. And yeah, feel free to share the stream. Feel free to go grab some snacks. You'll have about 2, 3, 5 minutes, and yeah, I'll see you shortly with Lasagna Games. Okay. Hello and welcome. We are back after that really quick break, and I have with me Serena. I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Serena from Lasagna Games here. Nice to be talking to you.
Lovely. Okay, so you can introduce your team perhaps for the start and maybe tell us how you guys came together. Let's just get into it.
Bro, of course. Just yeah, bit of backstory. So we're all students from the from the University of Northampton. We all worked together previously on a game jam project, a game called Stitch 'Em Up. It's a
Mhm.
2D like platform fighter, very inspired by like Speed Street Fighter and Smash Bros. We worked on that. We had a really great time, and then I found out about Tranzfuser through Wasad, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this team together, and we're gonna work on something awesome. So we're comprised of 4 different people. Me, I'm the lead designer and overall project lead. And then we have Lulu, who's our lead 2D concept and doing a little bit of 3D artist.
Mhm.
Her work's awesome. And then we've got Ryan, who's our lead 3D artist. He's been killing at the moment with working on different 3D assets. And then we have Jack, who is our lead programmer. So he's been doing a lot of prototyping, doing a lot of cleaning up my awful code, and yeah, doing a lot of great things. So yeah, a bit of backstory on the project. This started as a funnel major project for me.
Mhm.
So I've been prototyping this for quite a bit of time now, and
We're talking about
yeah,
Grapple Gal now, yeah?
yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah. So we'd got prototype together, excellent feedback, and yeah, now we're getting the team in, we're getting everything together, and it's coming along really great. The game's so much fun to play. We're getting some assets in at the moment. They're looking awesome, and it's all coming together really nicely. Yeah.
that's perfect. Lovely. So I found it interesting how you came across Transfuser. So, what did you think that about this opportunity? You felt like this is the time, this is the moment to try out this indie stuff, or perhaps see if you can publish it. Like, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I was just having a look around and I saw this stand with all these awesome indie games, and I sat down and I spoke to a couple people, and they were absolutely lovely to talk to. And it's just like kind of in that environment and kind of
Mhm.
having a look in the
Yeah.
indie space is like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And in general, I've always been very like my dream is to have my own studio and stuff. So I just thought this is an incredible opportunity. I have to take this now. So
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of jumped on it, sacked off my FMP for a few weeks, and just hard focused on this. And yeah, I think this is definitely the right decision to make.
Lovely. Uh, um, I'm thinking, how did you manage to sort of adapt to like the business side of things? Because obviously, when you are starting a studio, doing the development becomes like the fun part, and then as we learned last week speaking to teams, it's really a lot of work getting the paperwork done for everything, maybe you can share a bit about that for us.
Yeah, so it's very true. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's incredibly it's a lot of work to keep on top of everything, to manage yourself, manage your team, and also manage all the paperwork and stuff,
Yeah,
because we're not just making a prototype, we're making a product, and there are different standards and different things that have to be hit compared
yeah.
to something like a university project. And I wish I'd be able to give some good advice on that, but have to be emailed several times at the moment asking me to update folders and projects and stuff. So definitely learning experience from our end. But yeah, it's been yeah, it's been very insightful, if anything, having a look at trying all these different ways of engaging community,
Mhm.
um, optimizing paperwork, optimizing how the team works together, and yeah, it's a very tricky balance of working on the game and working on everything outside of it and everything that's just as important, because I think definitely like presentation and how your project is out there is, I'd argue, more important than the project itself, because you can have the best game out there, incredibly fun to play, but if you have to go through so many Google searches or look through so many like Discord links to find it, that's just not going to be sustainable. So yeah, it's been a big change for us trying to make sure we get it out there, we get it as presentable as possible,
Mhm.
and as accessible as possible.
Yeah, definitely, I absolutely agree with that. It's um I believe I'll give an example where what you just said applies to AAA. Even I believe when Final Fantasy, the MMORPG, when that was on its like high, people were having issues purchasing. I believe it was a DLC or an expansion, and they really wanted to spend the money, but the process of purchasing it was really difficult. So, Serena, what you're saying is absolutely true. That you need to get yourself out there and make your game and your product as accessible as possible. So maybe you can share with us, how did your team approach that, like expanding the community, engaging with it? What maybe did you find the most successful, and the least successful, that you think worked and didn't?
Yeah, so one of the main things that we're looking at the moment is just keeping everything very focused. We focused a lot on Twitter as our main social
Hmm.
space. A little sneak peek: we have just today launched a Discord, which I will be sharing in a little bit. But our main thing has been on Twitter and following hashtags, regularly posting, and one bit of community engagement that we're really proud of is in our first level. It's set in a city. It's set in very similar to London, and we have these billboards all around the place that the player can swing from.
Hmm.
And originally, we were just thinking, oh, it would be debris, but we've come up with the idea of having these pieces of artwork be from several different sources. So I've collaborated with artist friends of mine. I've collaborated with Tranzfuser teams,
Hmm.
and Jack has managed to program a way of randomizing what assets are in there, and we've been able to get that sort of collaboration with having these billboards all across the city with all different artworks, with different advertisements, different parodies, and it's we've got a lot of engagement from that. And as well, we're looking at the moment for a voice actor, and we put out a an advert on Twitter, and we got incredible numbers. I
Really?
think last time I checked, we're about 50 plus likes and retweets, and engaging with like the voice actor niche has been absolutely
Hmm.
incredible. They've been so supportive, and I think that shows a lot of the strengths about Twitter. About yeah, it's a when you're appealing to these smaller spaces, you may not get a wider reach, but
Hmm.
when you're sharing information, when you're like Twitter, like a lot of the community online is so ready to support each other, and we've been trying to take advantage of that a lot. And been especially like communicating with the other teams, they've been absolutely nothing but supportive. We've been figuring out each other's problems. We've been understanding like where we're confused with things, and it's yeah, using that space to work with work with like-minded people online on Discord and all these different spaces has been our main um our main focus, and we think that's been incredibly successful.
Yeah, great, spot on. I think it's a really smart way to engage with community and allow them to have some input. And that way, not only are you growing an audience, but also you could possibly be growing your team, for the future, which is great. Okay, enough about the team. Let's jump into the gameplay. Talk about the game in more detail.
Brill, yeah. So, all right. So, Grapple Gal is what we describe as a linear 3D platformer. We like to wear our inspirations on our sleeves. We're very inspired by specifically 3D Sonic, and we're very specifically interested in the idea of speed being a reward and rewarding the player with making the right decision, with emergent gameplay, with multiple paths, and yeah, just letting the player express themselves through gameplay.
Mhm.
And the main thing we've looked at is movement. So I think a lot of modern 3D platformers have been really excellent because they've allowed a lot of variety with movement, a lot of expression through there. I think games like Mario Odyssey, A Hat in Time, other similar indie games have been really awesome to see because they've allowed this expression, and that's something we've tried to incorporate into our gameplay a lot. So
That's really good. Yeah.
yeah, so we like to use emergent gameplay as kind of a bit of a buzzword, but so for example, the player can jump, they can dash. From there, they're completely actionable. So they can go into a swing, they can go into a grapple, they can go into a stomp, they can go into so many things. And just quickly on the grapple, because the grapple is very again inspiration on our sleeves, very like Spider-Man.
Mhm.
But we've noticed a trend in especially the last 5 years of game dev is grappling hooks are just more and more in in games. So Spider-Man obviously, but we've got things like Apex Legends and Overwatch, those sorts
Yeah.
of arena shooters where they have grappling hook mechanics, and like Doom Eternal has a grappling hook and other similar mechanics. And what we've noticed is a lot of these open worlds have very expressive uses for these grappling mechanics.
Mhm.
And we thought, why don't we take that into a lot more linear focused environments and really combine with the sense of speed and the sense of mobility, just allow the player to just have incredible control over what they're doing and just completely blitz through a level. And yeah, from our prototyping, that's been incredibly fun. And yeah, our main focus is on just making something that's super fun to play and kind of supporting everything around that. So yeah,
It looks great. It looks like you got the. It's really nice to see. For me personally, when a team is focusing on their core stuff, they know what makes the game, um, and it sort of branches out from there. So I think what you mentioned about the movement and focusing on that, and definitely where your inspirations came from, that does translate to the gameplay, which I think is great because it shows that you have an idea where you want the project to be headed or how you want it to feel or look like. Um, what do you think is the most fun feature out of all the mechanics implemented in the game currently, or perhaps in the build that we are watching currently?
okay, so a bit of a bizarre one, but I think the air movement
Mhm.
is incredibly fun. I think not just grappling, but just being off the ground and just like almost flying through the level is incredibly rewarding. And it's a little bit in this current build, but we're especially looking at the moment is a feature we call overclock.
Mhm.
So what it does, it allows the player naturally has some speed caps on what they're doing, and this overclock allows the player to break those limits. And if they keep doing actions, so if they keep dashing, if they keep going onto dash pads, their speed increases, and it's just it's a risk and reward mechanic which we think works incredibly well. So we still have a lot of work to do prototyping it because at the moment it's a little bit busted. So the player's reaching speeds about 600 miles per hour and they're just completely breaking the level. And we need to tone that down a little bit. But yeah, definitely those two are something that have emerged, especially through the Tranzfuser period, that
Mhm.
we're especially happy with.
Great. And what was the biggest challenge getting all of this to work? Getting the movement to feel right. What aspect of it would you say was the hardest to get right?
Oh, so so I've spent a lot of time looking at this, and it's just one of the main things is just the feeling of speed and the feeling of movement, not just by moving the stick, but visually as well.
Mhm.
So we've had a lot of criticisms where people are saying the player feels like sometimes when they're walking, the animations don't exactly match the speed,
Mhm.
and it almost feels like ice. And we definitely agree on that. Yeah, it's something we've taken a lot of time to look at, and something I still think we need to do better. It's just that feeling of additional elements alongside the physics themselves to make
Yeah.
player feel fast. So things like speed lines, like the camera, all these different elements that come together that make the player feel better without specifically changing any of the physics. Because we spent a lot of the time with the physics, and we think they're mostly in a good spot. It's just
Mhm.
everything around it we need to get and get that almost selling that sense of speed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that even if you have physics, but then if you add, let's say, a change in the field of view, and then you also like the speed stripes, and then maybe a screen is blurring the faster they go. Like all of these things really change how fast it feels, how fast the player is going, and even when they are actually moving at the same speed. So you're absolutely right there. How would you be looking to expand the game, let's say post Transfuser? What do you think you would want to add maybe on top of all this movement, or is it lore, level design? Where do you think the game would be headed?
Brill. So yeah, we currently have a really solid focus for what we're going to do for the full project. We have a bit of a full plan out at the moment, and
Mhm.
for EGX specifically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to focus on getting this first level you see here perfect, getting the player absolutely spot on, and getting everything in this small little focused area excellent. And then past that, we want to continue expanding with levels, with structure, with additional rewards, that sort of thing. And yeah, we're looking especially at the moment at with in regards to funding, just not only with Transfuser but looking at publishers as well and looking at
Mhm.
long term. We're currently having a look at a lot at Steam and those different platforms, and a long term porting to console and making sure everything's optimized for those platforms. And yeah, our main focus is just keep building it, keep building levels, keep building challenge stages, keep building what we have, because I think the core at the moment is so good. We need to just keep building on that and make something that's a really great experience.
Great. Okay. As we are finishing up, I'll just ask you a few last questions. First one, which I really like to ask, is what's the biggest lesson you think you would say you learned over the course of Transfuser so far?
Um, I think oh, that's a tricky one because we've learned so much, but it's just
Oh, you can give me a few.
yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, but the main thing is just always being on top of things and always just thinking proactively, not reactively. Just if you're building something and you can foresee that having some issues, work on them now. Don't wait until it's an issue. Get things moving forward. And it's the same on keeping on top of paperwork,
Yeah,
keeping on top of teams' responsibilities. Like if you can foresee that you're going to really struggle with that, do that now. And another one I think mainly is just trust the process. Really, it's just trust your team, trust your support groups, and just yeah, like it's very easy when you're just working on something to, especially when you're just focused on that one thing, to start picking out all the flaws in it and just getting very critical and very like dangerously critical. But it's just remembering like we have a great team that's working on this. It will come together and it will be great. And yeah, we've been following that a lot, and it's resulted in great things. So yeah,
perfect. And for EGX, do you have any milestones you want to hit then or by then? What's the plan?
big build. We want to get our build running and absolutely awesome. We want to get our new assets in. We want to get our new character in. We want to get voice acting in, a little bit of narrative.
Nice.
But we want to get for for EGX, we want a our tutorial level, and we want our full first level all in there, all super polished, super high quality, and all super awesome. And then from there, we can direct our audiences to our itch pages, Steam pages, any of that stuff, and drive in a lot more traffic and just build a lot more of an audience. Yeah.
Amazing, perfect. Okay, that's great. That's the time. You can give any quick shout outs.
Yeah. So our Twitter is Lasagna Games. We'll in a few hopefully we'll be posting our Discord there. I'll be posting a few links in the chat, but
You might
yeah,
need to
just
run those through by me. I think
oh yeah, of course.
the chat is protected
Oh,
from the links.
smart move. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But in that case, yeah, just stick to Twitter. Everything's on there. I want to thank my team. I want to thank Local Hub. I want to thank everyone for supporting us through this. And yeah, um, you gotta go fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, loving
okay,
it.
lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay,
We are
thank
going
you.
to a short break and we'll be back with Kaleidoscope. Okay, hello and welcome back. I'm here with Katie from Kaleidoscope. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
So, would you like to introduce yourself and your team? And you can give us a few words about what you guys been working on.
Yeah, so we're a team of five. We've got Harry, who's our producer and designer. We have Ben, who's our 3D artist and helps with the business stuff. And then Raj is programming the whole thing. And we have Lauren, who's leading the 2D art and animation. And then I am the UI artist and I help with a lot of the 2D art and animation as well.
Lovely,
And we're making Play Pretend.
lovely. Sounds good. So, how did you come across Tranzfuser? How did all of this start?
Yeah, so at our uni that we all went to the same uni,
Mhm.
transfuser is really encouraged even from like first year for us. Like we get told about it. So we all sort of knew that we wanted to do transfuser even from
That's great.
first year.
Hmm.
And Harry in particular wanted to start his own studio. So we figured, hey, this is a good opportunity to sort of kickstart that.
Definitely, certainly. And then, did you guys come together through projects, or did you like look for members towards your last year of university? How did that?
Yeah, we all have worked together before. We've
Mhm.
actually we've published a game on Steam, Get Stuffed, if you want to check it out, which we all worked on together. So we knew that we sort of synergize really well, and we have the type of like flexible skill sets
Mhm.
that like basically create an entire game development team together.
That's great.
So it just made sense, I guess, for us to come together and work on this together.
Yeah, certainly. Why not? So we'll just jump into the project. We'll get some gameplay on the screen, and you can walk us through. Are we getting gameplay? Yes, we are. Okay, and you can walk us through the game. What is the game about? Maybe how did it start? Where did the inspiration for this come from?
Mhm. Yeah. So, Play Pretend is a roguelite and it's set in the imaginations of school children. So you take on the role of one of the school kids and you essentially defeat your playmates by upgrading your like superpowers and you use a variety of Tetris blocks to make powerful synergies in your like magical superpowers. And each kid has their own imaginary world and their own powers and they all act as both a playable character and a boss. And a lot of the inspiration was obviously from games like Hades,
Mhm.
up and coming roguelites that essentially help people who maybe aren't so into the roguelike genre get into
Okay.
the roguelike genre. So we're trying to create a game here that's really like friendly for people who maybe wouldn't play something as hardcore as like Binding of Isaac,
Mhm.
and maybe want to get into the genre a little bit.
I see. So how would you say you tackled those aspects? Because you definitely tackled the theme. This one is certainly
Yeah,
bright and puts a smile on player's face, hopefully, right? And what about the
yeah.
gameplay? How did you try to sort of make it more accessible as a roguelike to those players, as you explained?
So we are keeping the combat system kind of simple and really easy to understand. We've actually reworked it since this footage, but the characters have two, I guess, weapons you would call them. They're really just
Mhm.
like their two main abilities and an ultimate, and those stay the same. And you just upgrade them with these Tetris pieces that you can mix and match any of the Tetris pieces between your two weapons.
I
So
see.
there's no like specific, oh, I really have to build this way if I want to be able to defeat this boss,
Mhm.
or I really have to build in a very specific way. Anything will work with anything, and you can just sort of play however you feel like. and you'll be able to stand a great chance against the
Mhm.
bosses.
That's great. Um, Something that I'm sure caught everyone's eye is sort of the style you went with, right? Because we got a mix
Mm,
of the 3D and 2D. Uh,
yeah.
I would love to hear how you guys maybe approach this. Was this like a solution to the what sort of team members you guys had, or was this a style you thought like would be beneficial to the game you're trying to create?
Yeah, this was mostly because of the team members that we have.
Hmm.
Ben is really good at 3D modeling and procedural texturing, whereas Lauren specifically is great at 2D animating. So we thought it'd be really cool to have this mix of the two art
Yeah,
styles like combined, and it would help with our workflow because we can just sort of have Ben do all the 3D, and then Lauren and I do all the 2D, and it comes together.
yeah, it
That
worked
was
out.
Yeah, it's quite Paper Mario as well, which is again like aiming at that type of audience that have
Okay.
maybe played Paper Mario. They might be like see our game and be like, "Oh, that looks like something I'd be interested in."
Mhm. So how did you try to reach that audience? How did the sort of community growing go for you this far?
We've mostly been posting on Twitter, but we've also put a lot of emphasis on getting a TikTok up and running,
Okay.
and especially posting sort of meme videos, I guess, of our gameplay on TikTok to try and reach the kind of audience that is maybe a bit younger
Yeah.
and just sort of up for a laugh.
Yeah.
It's mostly that.
Yeah. I mean, any sort of media where you think your target market will be, it's smart to, I think, adapt to that.
Hmm.
So that's definitely the way to go. So with the way the project is progressing, it's looking very well. At least that progress built. What would you say was the most challenging to get sorted to get to where it's at?
Uh, Honestly, the most challenging thing has been having to cut down our scope so much because we started this project when Transfuser started. It didn't exist before.
I see.
So
Okay.
we've had to cut down so many like we wanted different worlds, like a space pirate world and maybe a monster truck world for
Oh,
each different character and boss. And we've
sounds
had to
great.
cut so much. I know all of the different enemy types, like because 2D animation, it's all hand done, it takes
Yeah.
so long. We've had to cut so much to be able to get it done in time for
Mhm.
EGX. So I'd say cutting the scope has been the most challenging part for sure.
So is that something, if you were to expand onto the game in the future, would you be wanting to go back to that, or as the game evolved, do you now have different ideas how for the content you would want to add on to the project?
Yeah. Definitely, the main priority is getting more worlds in, more characters, because
Okay.
our sort of your unique selling point is that you play as a variety of the school kids. You can play as any
Hmm.
of the bosses that you fight. They're all playable characters, and they all have their own completely unique worlds. Like this world that you're playing through right now is Gracie the Dragon Princess's like medieval fantasy princess world where she has a dragon as the boss.
Hmm.
And we want to get in our space pirate world where you fight like a kraken at the end, stuff like that. We really want to get a lot of different interesting worlds in and
Hmm.
different enemies to fight.
Nice. I think you guys definitely there is a lot of potential with that, and while it's difficult, obviously, work-wise, I think it's easy to expand the scope if you have such a clear idea what is gonna be. Sort of you base a world theme around whether it's a monster or other way around, and sort of go from there. So if this dragon that we are seeing on screen is the boss, does that mean players will be able to play as the dragon?
Okay, this might be a little confusing, but at the top of this arena, in the left tower next to the gate, is actually Gracie the princess, who is actually basically setting the dragon on you.
Right,
So you will be able to play as Gracie, the princess,
and not
and
the dragon.
one of your abilities would probably revolve around the dragon.
I see. That's
Yeah, it's a
understandable.
lot of
Yeah.
placeholder. There, you can see her like on the screen at the top there.
That's great. Um,
Yeah.
I think you guys definitely managed to put this together really quickly, considering that you started when the transfuser started, which I think is a great inspiration for anyone watching who didn't get into game dev and maybe is considering, and that you can really get a lot of stuff done with the right structure, and just with time things come together as Play Pretend did. Where did the name Play Pretend come from? Is it?
Um, we really like sort of puns as names, and
Mhm,
I guess it just made sense. Like we were looking at things like I think Golden Time was another one that we came up with, which
mhm,
is specific to British primary school. You would have Golden Time if you were really good in class, where you get to play. And we thought that that just was a bit too like UK specific, and we didn't think
yeah.
other people would get it. So Play Pretend was like the next one up because you're playing, pretend.
Mhm.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, and it adds to accessibility of the project as well. Someone said in the chat that the game looks cute. Yeah,
Oh, thank
the
you.
the, the visuals. Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree that the visuals, the team definitely is. You guys are doing great with that. So would you be looking with the publisher with this project? What are the what are the plans going forward with the project?
Yeah, we're really looking to get a publisher for this, I think, because it is a roguelite. We have an advantage, I suppose, in terms of the way that we can produce content. So we could get a publisher who's like, we want the full game. We want like 6 worlds and 6 characters and like 100 enemy types, and then we'll publish it and we'll give you this amount of time. And we could be like, that might take too long. We can give you 3 worlds and three
Hmm.
bosses. So we can be really flexible with what publishers want
Yeah.
from our game, which I think will help getting a publisher for us. So that is the plan.
Yeah, definitely, because that also shows that as a team you have an idea how long things take and how long you're
Mhm.
really willing to work on things,
Exactly.
and then you want it out the way. Yeah, definitely, that's smart. Um, what would you say throughout Transfuser have been like the highlights for you this far? Obviously, we are speaking before EGX, which is probably going to be the highlight for most of the
Yeah.
teams. But so far, maybe you can tell us about your experience.
Honestly, for me, it's just the fact that people actually want to buy and play our game. It's crazy because obviously we've done game development before for uni, but we've never done like marketing and community building.
Mhm,
So it's just it's crazy that there is actually people that are really interested and really like our game idea. People are even kind of invested in the characters to an extent, which this early on is it's really cool.
mhm.
So definitely that.
Eh, I just want to ask because that's something that I think I well, I got it pointed out when looking into your game. Do you guys have many Easter eggs from like I don't know whether it be cartoons or like children
It's
books? Because I got it
it's
pointed out to
really
me because
funny.
it went a bit over my head.
It's funny you mentioned this, because we have a character in our classroom, which is one of our util rooms, and his name is Cool Matt James, which anyone who went to school in the UK will recognize that that's a play on Cool Math Games, which is an absolutely classic site where kids would play games at school because it wasn't blocked by any of the like default internet security things that were installed in schools. So that's a little one of the little Easter eggs that
I,
play
I
will
I
definitely be picking
remember
up
that.
on.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that website is a bit barbaric. It's- okay, right. That's great. Just few last questions. For EGX, any milestones? What are you looking for to achieve, or just how do you want the
Yeah.
experience to go?
Um, we are planning on getting at least a few space pirate levels in.
Mhm.
So we definitely want at least 2 worlds to really show off that the game is not just a fantasy game. There's different environments.
Yeah.
And we've actually reworked our combat system a little bit. So we want to get that in and we get the combat feeling really, really polished and snappy.
Mhm.
Uh, and I guess just polishing really, like a lot of polish needed to be done. It's
Sounds
pretty much
great.
the plan.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's the case for many teams. Yeah, it's great to hear that you are. I think many teams would have experienced it as well, but you've pointed it out that feeling of like people actually wanting to buy your game. It's not
Yeah,
just you giving the project to tutors, it's
to like a
now
few,
giving it
yeah.
to the public, and public likes
It's
it,
crazy.
and it's like, wow, they like it. They'll pay for it. Can make a career out of it, and that's pretty much what Transfuser is all about, to give you that ability, which is great. Okay,
That's the
that's the
dream.
time. Yeah, time's up for us. So if you want to give any shout outs, I'll post the Twitter in the chat, and you
Yeah,
can.
so definitely follow us on Twitter. It's Kaleidoscope TWT, or it's in the chat. And we'd also really like to shout out our team mentor, Rory Busby, who has just been helping us a ton with design questions that we've had. It's been really helpful. So yeah, and shout out to my team.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you so much, Katie. And we'll
Thank
be
you.
back live in just around 5 minutes with Team Skera. So speak to you
Bye.
soon. Uh, Hello and welcome. We are back. I have Max with me from Team Skera. You can take the stage to introduce yourself and your team.
Hi, so I'm Max. I'm the team leader for Scara. We're a three-person team. So that is Anastasia, who is our sort of producer, support 3D artist, 2D artist concept. We wear a lot of hats because there's only three of us. There's Horace, who is our audio lead and person who sort of implements the audio, and then I'm the programmer slash sort of 3D artist.
I see. So, how did you guys come across Transfuser? How did you get together?
So for Transfuser, um, so well, actually, I guess I'll start with where we met, which is at university. So we all went to UCA, the University for the Creative Arts,
Mhm.
and me and Anastasia were on the Games Arts course, and Horace was on the audio sort of music course, I think. Um, and when we graduated, our course has a sort of incubator sort of um, thing that you can sort of join with a good project. And so Horace basically just found us and was like, I need to join your team because you need to have good audio for this. I've seen the trailer. So that was kind of funny. And
Nice.
yeah, so that was sort of that because we had a look at some of his stuff and it was all awesome stuff. And yeah,
S-
so yeah.
Also, so how are you feeling about like entering this indie journey, like starting up your own stuff? How has
So
that been for you?
it's been really a good like learning experience for us. I said we're all graduates, and it's sort of become very real very recently with talking to publishers at like the pitch event and stuff, and having to
Yeah.
go into like the business side of things has all made everything so much more real. um, but yeah, it's been really good.
Maybe you can tell us more about the like how did the pitching go? What do you think like were some unexpected maybe questions that you've been asked, or maybe what did you learn from it?
So I think definitely we're all very art focused more than the business side of things. So for the pitch event, that was something that was definitely flagged for us was you might need to think about how you're organizing your business or how you're approaching it a lot
Yeah.
more. Um, and yeah, it went really well because after our sort of first talk with a VR publisher, we went in and sort of really had a focused look at what we're doing. So, for example, we were very much thinking of going for like Steam as our place to publish, but Oculus is definitely the better place.
Mhm.
But you also can't find any information about like the store from Oculus, whereas Steam is very open
Yeah.
with all of its information. So, yeah, but yeah, otherwise it went really well. Like the game side of things has always been very good. It's just the business.
Mhm. Mhm. But does that not like sort of inspire you a little bit that hey, this is happening, we are making this creative project now into something that will be able to uh,
Yeah,
live off of essentially if it's successful enough?
yeah, for sure. Like it it is one of that those things of like when you realize that people could be interested in sort of playing your game or that you would actually receive money for the work you've done is a bit of a like awesome and weird experience at the same time. Um, so yeah,
Sounds good. Okay, we'll jump into the some gameplay footage. And maybe you can talk us through your game, the inspirations for it, what were your influences, and perhaps what are you trying to achieve with it? And don't worry, just answer one of my questions. I know I'm throwing a lot at you here.
so for Skera, it started off as my own third year project, and it was a solo project. And at the time, it went through like completely different sort of settings and sort of how we were planning to do it, so or how I was planning to do it.
Mhm,
So it started off as like a third person over the shoulder game, and then I thought maybe I can put it into VR, and that was both a bit of a mistake because I had no idea how to do anything in VR, but also like a really great learning experience, and it actually went really, really well because it sort of made it a lot more unique, especially with VR being sort of still a bit of a niche.
mhm.
And yeah, and then so I think I'll give a rundown of like what the goals are in
Go
Scara
for
and
it.
what it is
Yeah.
about. So Scara is a sort of puzzle-solving action adventure game set in basically this big sort of alien tower that acts as sort of a gateway between sort of planets or solar systems. The idea being that it's sort of been abandoned, and you as a person has sort of come in here to try and reactivate it to reconnect your planet back to sort of the rest of everywhere else. Um, and so one of the main like selling points or the unique ports for Scara is its slicing mechanic,
Mhm.
which will come up a bit later in the demo video.
Yeah, we'll
But
see it soon.
it's one of the things that is haven't seen done to the same extent in other VR games. So
Mhm,
you have things like Fruit Ninja, where you can sort of slice apart the fruits as they come at you, but the gameplay doesn't rely on you per se having the ability to cut them. You could just bash the stuff
mhm.
and you get your points and it would still complete the gameplay loop for the player.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have a focus on how can we make this a mechanic that is needed. And yeah, so the way that we've been trying to achieve that is by developing puzzles that sort of rely on that slicing mechanic. It'll, as I come up in a bit, but one of the puzzles we have is one where you have to slice a object and remove enough weight of it so that it will activate the button and open the door.
Okay.
And so other like mechanics we've been thinking about is sort of hiding useful items inside these blocks or having them be as obstructions for other things, hiding stuff in walls or whatever. And so that means that you need to use this slicing mechanic to get to the stuff to complete your objectives rather than just wanton destruction, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Um,
That's really interesting to me. Sorry, I'll just stop you there just to point out that like utilizing the slicing mechanics and kind of the physics of the engine you're working in to now reiterate like the very well known puzzles. You know, like let's say in Portal you would put something on a button, but here now you need to reduce the weight of something to go through, which is smart.
and so also, say you have like in the demo we have this big sphere that you have to cut, and it weighs massively too much for you to be able to pick up or move.
Hmm.
So, for example, you might need to cut off a certain amount of weight, which makes it, you know, pick upable. So then you can move it to the other side of the room and do the more portal style puzzle where you have to place something on the pad, but can't be like a 50-ton weight.
Hmm. Yeah. So there we see player picking up the sword. So how did the actually no, I asked you that before. I changed my question. Uh, Another one I had, maybe you can tell us what is the player seeing on the ground as they are moving around? Because I'm not sure if people noticed it, but there is almost like a scanning field of view on the ground for the player.
So that's to do with the teleporting mechanic. So for VR, you definitely need to have lots of different moving mechanics for people because motion sickness is a really important thing to try and
Mhm.
avoid.
Yeah.
So I tend to slide around for the videos because it looks a bit better, and I'm more immune to it. But for example, Anastasia can't play it without teleporting around. What we have tried to do is basically have a field of view for the teleporting so that you're not able to teleport, for example, around something that you wouldn't be able to like negotiate through or
I
teleport
see.
a space. So, for example, with the bird enemy that you can see sliding around here, you can't teleport directly inside the bird,
Yeah.
and you also can't teleport directly behind it either. You'll have to move around it in order to negotiate the space. And I think that makes it uh, sort of similar to the sliding mechanic. And there's the new uh, sort of mesh for the bird back there. So yeah,
Mhm.
as I said, it's to try and sort of make both the sliding and teleporting a bit similar when it comes to moving around the space.
Yeah. I think that's really smart because it makes it fair play for either user that would essentially experience whatever you design, like the linear experience will be sort of similar if not the same, just the
Yeah.
movement itself is slightly different. um so I definitely need to point out that you guys seems to be doing great with the 3D assets, right? That seems to be going well along. is that um is that like one of your USPs you're looking into, or how are you
Yeah,
um
so we're pretty proud of the like visual appeal that we're going into, especially in the VR space where the visuals tend to be sort of downsized a bit in order to make it play smoothly.
mhm,
So we've been looking into ways of optimizing our environments and our assets. So trim sheets is a technique that we've started to use, which allows us to basically have one set of textures for an entire environment. Um, and that really optimizes stuff very well.
definitely.
Um, and yeah, so it also makes it look really, really nice. But also, as I said, we can't really call it our main USP because some game like Half-Life Alyx that has amazing graphics is not something that we can directly compete with. And if you use that as your USP, that's the sort of competition you get in with.
Yeah. um Having said that, is tackling the visuals, was that your biggest challenge, or what was
Uh,
the what was the
I
thing
guess
for you?
biggest challenge for me is getting everything to work together very nicely.
Maybe you can
Especially with
specify.
VR, you can get problems of like you fall through the floor or you try to
That's not
push a
nice in
button.
VR.
Yeah, no, it's not at all. Um, and yeah, like there was a funny bit at one point where when Horace was doing the audio, he has a like trigger box for the audio, but it hadn't been set to be a trigger, so it was just a massive box that spawns on your head and pushes you through the floor. Um, but yeah, as I said, it's generally getting everything to work nicely together. Getting like the physics to work for me was a major sort of problem. Getting like weight and things that you don't really consider in day-to-day life is something that just needs to be programmed. It needs to run really, really quickly for
Yeah,
VR. But yeah, as I said, that's been the major difficulties for me.
I see.
Um,
And how is the expanding the game progressing? Like, what are you looking to do with it? Are we looking like at a story linear experience? Will there be different worlds? Maybe you can give a sneak peek if
uh,
you are willing.
yeah. So I'd say after EGX, narrative is something that we're going to focus on a lot more. We're planning to have basically a tower AI that is going to be the like person that you talk to. Think sort of GLaDOS from Portal in a way. so they're a bit of an antagonist and a sort of a help to you in the same way. And for EGX, we're looking to have a fully playable like linear demo, like you see here, that sort of shows off the major mechanics without being too much of a narrative piece.
Mhm.
But we're also thinking of adding in things like a form of like a dojo mode where you can play around with mechanics in sort of a free space or spawn in enemies to
Yeah,
fight, things
yeah.
like that.
I think
To
that's yeah,
Because for EGX as well, not everyone has enough time to go through like a 15,
exactly,
30 minute
exactly.
experience. So having something that introduces people to the mechanics and shows off our USP is going to be quite important.
Definitely, you're spot on with that. That's exactly what I would try to suggest if you had not mentioned it. Definitely, because you want them, like you said, at exhibitions, people may not have too much time, and you want to show them what will hook the player to your game, and want them to come back and play it more. And certainly having like a dojo mode would be interesting. Okay, as we are running out of time, um, I would like to ask the age-old question, which is, what did you learn throughout Transfuser? Maybe like a top tip from Team Skera.
Top tip.
Yes.
Let's think. I'd say that especially if you're like a group of artists, you do need to think about your business from the start. As said, it's something that has been our major like thing that we're just like, we'll push that to the side for a little bit. But having a sort of reality check from the pitch event, it's not as difficult as we sort of were thinking, but is also still very, very important to get right, especially if you plan to go for a publisher, because they need to know the information. They can't just trust that you're going to know exactly what you're doing and just provide everything with no issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Okay, stage is yours for any shout-outs, and we'll finish up.
Yeah, I guess I'll shout out my team who should be in the chat. And we've also got a trailer that we're going to be probably posting on Twitter and also a YouTube channel that we're hopefully going to have soon. So that would be Sari, who has composed our trailer. She's sort of someone that we've hired on as an extra contractor. But yeah, think of anything right now.
That's all good, lovely. I've linked Team Skera Twitter in the chat, so make sure you guys follow, and you will be able to see their trailer as soon as it's up and running. Okay, thank you so much, Max. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We'll go on to a short break, and I'll be back with BSV Games Studio team member. So chat to you guys then. Okay, guys, so quick update. We unfortunately will not be able, I don't think, to have any representatives from BSV Games Studio. However, nevertheless, I think every team should have their spotlight, to showcase how their progress is coming along. So I'll put up the gameplay of their project, and I'll uh, give a few words how I feel about it and stuffs and stuffs. Excuse me. And I'll be posting their Twitter in the chat as well. So enjoy the content and give these guys a follow. Yeah. Okay, so I thought it might be suitable for me to do a bit of commentary over the footage. It does have some audio, but it's not too continuous, and I would like you guys to have some audio content as well. So yeah, BSV Games Studios seem to have put together like a almost like a board game in a digital space, which I think there is definitely a market for it, and where a lot of uh, I think there is many games out there that could be sort of transformed into a board game, and making it in digital space allows for a lot of accessibility, and that's what the team did. So I hope maybe we'll have some of the team members in the chat to give a few more insights. But yeah, please enjoy the gameplay, and as soon as this is finished, we'll go on to a short break, and I'll get ready with the next team. Apologies about the technical difficulties. My microphone was muted on the stream. Okay, as I was saying, hello and welcome back. This time I'm with a team member, Ankharat from Team Dwellers. Hello and welcome.
Hi, hi, hi.
Okay, so let's start with introductions of the team, maybe how it came together, and we can transition to the game.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm Angharad. I'm in Team Dwellers with got myself. I'm like the team lead and producer, and lots of other different things as well. Our artist Jordan, our level designer Cameron, and our programmer Oliver. So we're all students from University of South Wales. We started off doing lots of game jams and projects throughout uni together. Baby Planet Go kind of started off as that, and it's just kind of evolved now going through Tranzfuser.
Lovely. So how are you feeling like now entering this world of actually monetizing like your project, the passion you had for
Yeah.
games, now going into this more corporate side of things? How is that going for you?
Yeah, it's very intimidating. I think like we going into Transfuser, we knew that obviously this is kind of what the competition's about. So you prepare yourself like, oh, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be new skills, but then actually doing it's just like a whole other beast. But I also like I always say to people like I do like paperwork, I do like that type of work. So it's been different than actually like in university just being an engine making the game. But
Yeah,
it's just it's really exciting of like, oh my God, this is actually like we'll make money from doing this. So yeah, it's exciting, but yeah, quite nerve-wracking and overwhelming at the same time.
so
Fine, we're just
excuse
gonna
us, excuse
jump
us,
onto it.
I can hear myself. Excuse us, some internet connections. This internet seems to be putting
I'm
up a
sorry
fight
about that.
against all of the teams today,
Definitely.
honestly.
Yeah.
Anyhow, back to the game, and we have some gameplay now on screen. So just take us
Fabulous.
through the project you are creating.
Yeah, so Baby Planet Go is a casual city builder for mobile and tablet. So what really kind of sets it apart from different city builders is no resource management or intense strategy. It's very much like we've kind of described it. It's kind of like between a toy and a game. It's just about creating a very relaxing experience for people who like in games like Animal Crossing and The Sims, they like the building more than the actual living in that
Yeah.
world and just having a space to create something visual and interesting. Because I love those types of games, but if I'm just before bed or in a place where I want to chill, I can get so like stressed and overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people we've spoken to have that same experience. So that was kind of where it's been born out of.
I see. So were the games like Sims a key inspiration, or was there, or did you maybe feel like there is a gap for this that you wanted to fill?
Yeah, we definitely feel like there was kind of games like Townscaper that we love that are just kind of like one really nicely refined mechanic, but don't really have that sense of progression. And then other games that are kind of like city builders for the mobile, like Outlanders, like a great game, but very resource management intensive.
Mhm.
So we've kind of felt like there's a in between of those two that we wanted to get to, a sense of progression through like tasks and unlocking new items and new design tools to change your island, but without being told this is specifically the way you're supposed to play this game or this is the direction you have to be taken in. Just kind of leave that up to the player of how they
Yeah,
want to use the tools and the items they've unlocked.
yeah. How about the theme? Is this like sort of nature parks thing? Is that the theme you're going with, or would you be exploring different worlds even? Like, how are you?
Yeah, so basically the name like Baby Planet Go comes from the obviously this is our demo of one island we wanted to get really
Mhm.
like nice and snappy, but the kind of long form idea is that you'll have an entire world full of islands and each of those will have their own like visual theme and design tools. So this one we're focused on right now is like this eco naturey cityscape, but in a previous proof of concept for university we did like a very like old school Japanese style that was
Okay.
really fun. Yeah, so the idea would be that just like each island would have its own kind of theme, and you could take assets over onto them if you wanted to mix up the themes, or you could kind of keep each one to its own little world that you're creating.
Lovely, perfect. What would you say is like huh? Not sure about this question because like the most fun aspect, I suppose, the whole game is just like an experience. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe you can take us through how you actually are using the game mechanics, game responsiveness, UI, all of it to retain like player attention span to sort of continue
Yeah.
engaging with this creation of their island.
That's definitely like the biggest, I don't want to say struggle, but the
Mhm.
biggest thing for us that is like most important because obviously it looks great and it sounds great in theory, but then you kind of what keeps someone coming back to it.
Yeah.
So that's what for us, like what I think is missing in the video, I know you guys have been seeing, is that level of like polishing game feel, of making
Mhm.
everything feel really satisfying. Like you're not just placing a building and seeing it appear, you kind of see it animate and all this kind of like the magic of the world that we really want to create,
Mhm.
and also the access to to new materials as well. Like, I think you can kind of keep and give people as many different like buildings, but eventually it's going to be like, okay, what's next? So that's where the design tools really come in, and kind of finding new ways to be able to change your island. So one we really like at the moment, a lot of people are really responding to, is like a merging tool. So if you've ever played a game like Little Alchemy, where you kind of take one thing, the other, put them together,
Yeah,
we've got that with our buildings as well. So you
that's
can kind of
amazing.
create,
That's
yeah,
exciting.
create new things. Yeah, that's the thing people are obviously
Yeah.
really like responding to. So that's kind of in. Sorry if you can hear the traffic outside. That's kind of the thing that we're really focusing on at the moment. We've got mechanically it working, but just like how to get that visual, seeing two things like actually squashed together in a really satisfying way.
Yeah, definitely. So I suppose you're not going too much for realism at this point when there's buildings merging together. No, that's out the window.
No, I think with my artist, I kept saying to him, like, don't focus on being realistic. Don't focus, just make it look like great. Just make it look really cool, something people haven't seen before.
I see. Great. So what would you say, like scope-wise, what are you looking to achieve towards EGX, and then maybe post EGX? How are you seeing this project evolve?
Yeah. So by EGX, hoping to have where we are right now, we've kind of got our core mechanics in, and like the actual assets themselves, but we're hoping to have this like really tight experience for the island, so just one singular island for EGX, and all the kind of tasks. So we do
Hmm.
have to kind of give that sense of progression, the tasks that kind of be like, okay, build an island here, try and merge something, so it can kind of also like try and teach the player, like, here's the different ways that these kind of tools all interact with each other. So by EGX, we just really, now it's just like polish, get like animations looking really slick, nice particle effects and all that business. Sorry, I don't know if I just dropped out again then. Um,
That's all right.
dropped out.
No, you're
Okay,
you're
cool,
fine.
cool,
You're
fab.
fine. I was just listening and carefully watching, making sure
I
that
just saw
you're.
my screen blinked, and I was like, oh god, not again.
No, that was my
So
doing.
yeah,
I was refreshing things.
okay, cool. Just checking. So yeah, for EGX, that's kind of where we're planning on being, and then we kind of talked about in the pitches, kind of just scoping that up from there. One person said to us at the pitch, which we think is really true, is kind of once we've got that demo to a point with that one island that we're like, yeah, this is really tight. This
Mhm.
is the kind of gameplay people want. It's just kind of scaling it up from there, really. Creating more islands, different visual themes, and messing around with different design tools.
Do you have maybe a theme you are looking forward to personally the most?
I would really like to bring back the cute Japanese theme we did,
Right.
because I love that stuff. But also, we've had people talk about like a Wild West kind of theme, like old saloons and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And this one team member, Cameron, he's always pitching like crazy out there ideas. So I think it would be some really like exciting stuff. But yeah, the kind of Japanese theme I think is what I'm most excited for.
Nice, great. And what's like your main goal for EGX? What are you looking to achieve?
I think with a game like ours, that's, as I mentioned, kind of, it's kind of not quite a game, not quite a toy. It kind of is in this middle area. It's just kind of ensuring that there is that interest there for it, because it
Hmm.
is the kind of game, I think it's a bit of Marmite. Like, you either get it or you don't get it. And some people are just kind of like, what do I do? Like, what is this supposed to be? And I don't think it's too bad to say that this game is not for everyone, but the people who will enjoy it, I think, are really gonna like find something new and exciting about it. So just hopefully we'll be able to connect with those people at EGX and really find those who get what our game's about and get some feedback from them.
Yeah, that's quite spot on. Okay, so this is the time when I ask about your experience at Transfuser. What would you say was the highlight so far before EGX?
Highlights so far, I think, yeah. Well, before EGX, obviously that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Dundee and the pitch event was a great experience for us. Like, myself and my teammate Jordan, who went, we'd never even been to Scotland before, so even that was great.
Oh
But
wow.
just like hearing people's actual opinions on our game, like, you're kind of, especially in a uni game, you're kind of in that shell of the people you know. So hearing people who'd never heard about us or our game before, be like, yeah, this really like what you're doing, or say, oh, maybe not doing it this way. Like, just so much feedback. Like, it was very overwhelming, but it was actually like, wow, this is people actually like caring about our game or wanting to help us succeed. So that's been like one of the best bits so far, definitely.
That's amazing. It adds that fuel, right, for game devs. I think
Yeah,
it's really important to, from time to time, get some positive feedback and encouragement that, hey, all these
yeah,
hours you've spent on this little thing, people notice it.
worth
And it's like,
it.
yay!
Yeah, definitely. That's been so rewarding.
Okay, stage is yours for any shout outs, and we'll finish up. I'll put your team Twitter in our chat.
Amazing. Yeah, so Baby Planet Go, at Baby Planet Go, Twitter, TikTok. Shout out to my team, you're the best. Jason, our mentor, he's amazing. Game wouldn't be where it'd be. And I know my mum's watching, so hi.
Okay, right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you'll be able to catch this team and many more at EGX. So yeah, be sure to share.
See you soon.
And we'll be back shortly with Cheezer Studios. Speak to you guys soon. Hi guys, welcome back. I have Costa with me from Cheezer Studios. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No, it's lovely to have you. Okay, so give us a run through. Who are the Cheezer Studios and how did you guys come together?
We are a group of uni students who uh, tried making games by ourselves in the past.
Mhm.
We couldn't get much work done with that, but over time, as we got experience, we managed to slowly improve on what we had, and we decided to form a little studio in which, instead of doing individual efforts, we all collaborate on
Mhm.
singular projects all together.
I see. And what was like the driving factor for you to like go this route rather than applying for a company? What was the sort of like your drive for
Uh,
it to go this way?
Mainly for us, it was mostly because of the income that's possible through the indie route, because we
Mhm.
saw many examples of indie successes. So we're currently trying to have the same success as other indie studios.
I see. I see. Is there any in mind that maybe inspired you to go this route?
Uh, One of the first examples we saw was the first tree, if you know
Mhm.
about it, uh, where it was made with Unity. A guy just bought a bunch of assets from the asset store and combined them all together to produce a financially successful project, even
Mhm.
though he was working 2 hours a week and he had a family as well.
Oh wow. Okay. So that's sort of like you want to be living that dream as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
So maybe you can tell us more about the game. I'll take us to the gameplay. Oh, which 1 second. I'll take us back to the interview. Your gameplay turned out to be bigger than expected.
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe you can introduce us before we go to the to the other scene. You can maybe introduce us to the game and what you were trying to create, and maybe why this genre. What's your target market?
okay. So for Transfuser, we decided kind of making how to say it, a game centered around mainly boss battles, so we don't have to make all the extra platforming and adventure stuff and all the extra content, and just keep it to bosses because we're only 3 people. Uh, for the visual style, at first we wanted to do some weird anime style, 3D anime, but it didn't work out in the end. So we're currently sticking to some weird mix between science fiction and realism, kind of like Near Automata.
I
Uh,
see. And how's your team doing scope wise with the project?
Scope wise, we are okay because we have a small scope in mind. We don't want lots of content. We're aiming for a 2 hour experience anyway, so
Hmm.
it's just gonna be some boss battles here and there with some nicely put visuals, and the rest is kept to a minimum. But for now, we're okay. We're not experienced in making such type of games, but I think we're gonna manage.
Hmm. So what was the biggest challenge right now?
Right now, the biggest challenge is the 3D modeling and uh, how the whole workflow works with,
Hmm.
let's say, importing optimized 3D meshes into Unity so that they don't uh, tank the frame rate a
Yeah.
lot. So we're getting the whole pipeline down because we didn't know about it before.
Hmm. And are you guys I hope you are progressing well in that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, getting there.
Thank God.
Good, good. And on the contrary, what do you think the team is like doing really well at right now?
Um, doing well. I think we're doing really well on getting uh the other visual side of the things done, like the environment
Mhm.
and the rest, because we are trying to write our own shader code to use in Unity, because we're using a certain pipeline which doesn't allow for certain effects. I mean, Unity doesn't have some effects that we want built in that pipeline, so we have to make them ourselves, and that's progressing very smoothly. Because it's something new for us as well. I wasn't expecting that.
I see. I see. But yeah, that's good. It means you're adapting right throughout development. There will always be some random problems that you maybe didn't anticipate as much. Were there any bugs you maybe have come across that you had like
Yeah.
spend a week on or so?
I also do everything had to do with visuals, because the code we
Oh.
had kind of the code from our previous projects about the visuals have been a big pain.
Mhm. But it's good. It means that you as a team, right, you're taking on a different challenge, which is not usual. And if you are able to now obtain that skill in the visual space and combine it with the coding that you already had, that's great because that will boost you forward. I feel. So how are you looking to expand the game? I'm sure the project have progressed, but like towards actually not towards EGX, post EGX, how would you be expanding the game outside of your current scope?
If our current scope is a 2-hour experience,
Mhm.
mainly on PC, outside of after it's done, outside of EGX, it would be to attempt to port the game to mobile, because we're aiming all the visuals to be initially optimized for both PC and mobile from the
Okay,
get-go. So that's one plan. Second plan is DLC, extra content, if the game gets breaks even.
I see. Do you have any concrete themes or concepts for the DLCs, or is that like something down the road?
It's only down the road, but we already have some ideas behind. Maybe add some extra story content or extra bosses. We'll see how what the reviews are.
I see. I'm not sure I asked about the inspiration for the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because it seems quite responsive. The combat is nice. It, does that come from any maybe titles you guys played and enjoyed, or something you worked on before?
Uh, yeah, it's a whole combination of playing hack and slash games to our teenage years and right now as well. Games like God of War or
Okay.
games like Near Automata.
Hmm. Yeah, those are good examples. They definitely resemble the project a little bit. And if you are expanding the game, if the game is successful, would you be looking to find a publisher? Would you be looking to publish it yourself? Like from the company side of things, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about that?
Uh, First we wanna have a go at publishing ourselves on Steam, because we kind of already know how you're supposed to do it on Steam.
Mhm.
If we see that there, we also know how to do it on mobile. But if we see there's potential for it outside of PC and mobile, we will need probably a publisher.
I see. I see. So you have like you are giving yourself options as a studio essentially.
Yep.
That's great. That's great. And with the transfuser, how did the transfuser, the whole uh, experience of it, how is that sort of aiding you along the way?
It certainly helped us with all the knowledge that they provide, kind
Hmm.
of from all the people they invite, all the guests, to kind of have an insight, more of a deep dive look into the whole industry.
Yeah.
Mostly we've taken mostly marketing tips and information about publishers. That's what we've taken most from it.
Hmm. And have you started applying that as a studio?
Uh, the marketing part, kind of, because we got initially we had like a grand idea for a game, but after we talked and saw that all the information in Transfuser, we thought we should reduce our scope because it's kind of outside our reach
Hmm.
if it's only 3 people. So the marketing side of it is that we saw the importance of audience building and and that you have to have a realistic scope. Yeah,
Yeah,
and also the publishing information has helped us a lot in terms of how to decide as a studio on how to think about the whole publisher uh, topic, and it's helped us kind of decide on whether we would really need a publisher or not.
I see. That's great. That's good to hear. I mean, there is definitely so much, so many sources of information and opportunities to acquire it, all of that, given, as you said, that it's extremely helpful. And for EGX, what are you looking to get out of that, you know, game showcase experience?
Firstly, it's user feedback to see what kind of, on average, people enjoy more, to build upon that feedback.
Yeah,
Uh, and to also see that because we had some games before which had kind of a low poly toony style, and we want to see what's the engagement like when you switch to a more of a realistic visual style.
I see. So you're experimenting with this.
Yeah.
I see. Definitely a lot of challenges, but it's great. You will definitely and you are growing along the way. Um, as we are coming up to the end, uh, did I ask you about what you've learned throughout Transfuser? I'm not sure I did. You can tell us. What's the top tip you would give yourself to the old you before you started Transfuser? What's like the thing, the most important thing you learned?
Maybe it would have been try to stick to your own comfort zone with things.
Mhm.
Try not go beyond what you already know. Maybe I'm not sure about that point, but that's probably what it be, is to just stick to what you know.
I see. I see. Okay. Um, for the time constraints, we'll be slowly finishing up. Is there anything else about the project you want to share with us, or stage is yours as well for any shoutouts as well?
Uh, no, just the game's progressing how it's supposed to progressing, I believe. So I think, yeah,
So we good?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, lovely. Thank you, Costa, for the interview. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Let me just link your studio in the chat. There we go. Give these guys a follow and to keep up with their project. Thank you so much for the chat, and I'll be right back with you guys with another team. So stay tuned. Okay, guys, we are back. I am back with Josh from Aura Digital Studios. Hello, Josh. How are you doing?
I am not doing too bad. How's yourself?
Amazing, amazing. It's been a long afternoon. The internet today. I hope it will be good to you. But it's been the internet connection has been targeting all of our teams, unfortunately. Anyhow,
Oh no.
actually it was just two, but no worries about it. Anyhow, let's talk about you, Josh, and about Aura Digital Studios. Who are you guys? How did you come up?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm one of the co-founders, or the co-founders away off on leave at the minute. So we set up a company about 2.5 years ago as part of a university placement. We started up as an animation studio doing mainly service work for clients. And then we sort of pivoted into XR, so VR and AR and all that lovely stuff for narrative storytelling. And that kind of took off for us, and we sort of started seeing opportunities for us to open up as an immersive company and a games company as well. So we floated the idea of Bin Chickens, which is my co-founder Eva's IP. We just kind of fell in love with it. It's a silly little party game about some seagulls trying to steal chips off humans. So we thought it was pretty fun.
Okay, speaking of which, I'll just take us through the gameplay. And you can maybe tell us what about the inspiration for the game. It's kind of obvious where it comes from, but what urged you to create a game about the the menacing seagulls? you know, how did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think we took a business trip to London, I think it was, and we just started. We spent a lot of time like working on pitches and stuff in cafes and stuff like that, and then we have an office in the city, so the seagulls are like really, really like obvious. Like when you're working in the city, there's seagulls everywhere, and they're always doing really weird things.
Yeah.
So it sort of became the game became a character piece about these like beings that we live around every day. And we're in the early days. We just started the game as soon as Transfuser opened up, pretty much. So we've been playing a lot of catch up, but essentially we intend to go really hard on how many characters we can stick in the game.
Mhm,
Um, and yeah, sort of just tell those really quirky, funny sort of sequel stories.
mhm. You mentioned at some point earlier that the things kind of took off for you at some point. So was indie the goal, or is indie just a result of kind of things coming together?
Um, I think I think indie's sort of more a means to an end. I think everyone sort of starts there. So we're 2.5 years down that journey. Still indie, but working on a lot of really cool stuff. And I think we just hope to increase our scope and increase the jobs that we can offer for people and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, in terms of like indie development, yeah, it's just where we sort of were able to start,
Mhm,
and we'll see where things go from there.
I see. And the project currently, so I'm sure that the team is progressing plenty, but there is a lot of party games like that there is like beat the maps, there is like a lot of puzzle games. How are you looking to sort of break through that market, um, where there is like Fall Guys? There is a game called Guys Fall Flat, something like that.
Oh, Human Fall Flat? Yeah.
Yeah, and there is like Gang Beasts as well. So how does your project fit into that sort of target market?
Yeah, I mean, those were all definitely influences for the game. We've definitely talked about those in the design process leading up to what we have now.
Hmm.
But we've also touched on things like Untitled Goose Game and even actually Jackbox games. The idea of having one game there that is filled with loads of mini games that you can all pick from. Like it's a library of content for you and your friends for an evening. So we're kind of that's kind of the USP we're going towards now is that it is a library of mini games eventually. We are working on the one right now to get it going as an MVP, but that's the long term goal for the game is that eventually we'll have loads to pick from and you can kind of just pick which one you want to do. But like, Mario Party and stuff like that, but not Mario Party. So,
I
yeah.
see. So that's just like one of your inspirations and what you're
Yeah.
headed for. What's like a challenge for you as both like a studio and developers at the moment?
I think as a studio we have loads of projects on at a given time. So
I
at the
see.
minute we have three on. So managing teams and making sure everyone stays on track with the deliverables we set every week and stuff is a challenge. But I mean we're doing it. We're keeping up. We've I mean I think you're showing gameplay footage right now, but I don't think I can see. Um,
I am,
but
yes.
yeah, things have come a long way since we sent through that footage. We were doing some QA testing today, and yeah, it's just we've just managed to add in so many things that just make the game feel really fleshed out now. So yeah, I mean that. I'm trying to think what else. Also, yeah, just I mean, first time developers. We weren't a games company. We were stepping into that industry, figuring out the nuances and stuff of like how the industry works in terms of selling to publishers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Working out those intricacies. I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it's definitely been a challenge, but one we've definitely taken to. Yeah, like a been chicken to chips.
Yeah, I see, I see. Well, aside from challenges, what do you think is like the most enjoyable part of like this journey that you are going on to?
I think so. Typically for us in a project, we would, we do our pre-production for an animation, we do our production, and we do our edit, and then you get to see the final thing at the end. Whereas with games, seeing it all coming together as you go is really, really entertaining, and actually being able to input stuff into it, actually play the game is great. I think, yeah, because there's a whole bunch of game developers on this program that probably think, oh yeah, isn't that the bare minimum? But for us, it's still quite exciting. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably the most exciting thing about what we're doing. But and we've managed to make a actual fun game. Um, I think we expected that to happen a lot longer down the road than it did. But
Mhm.
we've got some people playing it, and they were like, "Can I have another go?" And that just really makes it worthwhile, I think.
Can you walk us through in more detail for the gameplay loop what you are aiming to achieve from the mechanics to things like why would the player want to like come back, you know?
Yeah. Well, the main draw of it is to get your friends really frustrated with you. Like we kind of want to go for that, screaming across the coffee table at each other kind of thing. In terms of the
Monopoly
main,
situation.
yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual game loop, we've kind of got it there already. Like the game exists, you can play it from start to finish and get an outcome. It's basically so what one of you takes a turn at playing a human who has to defend your chips, and the rest of the characters, so we can have up to 4 players at the minute, attack the human to try and steal their chips, and then we loop through that uh, for the amount of times that we have players. So if
Mhm.
there's 3 players, you'll go through that loop 3 times, and it averages up the score in terms of which human did best to keep in their chips, basically. So that's like the bare bones basics of the game loop, and now really it's just about sort of refining that and making it as playable and fun as possible, and making sure it's balanced too. So far we've done a pretty good job, but yeah, there's still more tweaking to do.
That sounds good. That sounds good. So how is your um maybe you can like apply your learnings from Transfuser. What from Transfuser do you think is now making your team and your studio more efficient at putting this together?
I think the deliverables have been helpful. As a studio, we're always looking for external sources of accountability and things like that. So
Yeah.
having an outlet to sort of share your progress and have people keep you on track and stuff like that has been great. It's also kind of getting us used to the idea that that's what we would be doing if we secured a publisher too.
Mhm.
If we secured a publisher, we'd be doing like weeklies and sort of catch ups and stuff at a regular basis. So it's kind of been good to adjust to that workflow. We kind of try to do that anyway, even with our animation stuff, coming back to our clients regularly. But
Yeah,
it's actually good to have someone setting something pretty solid for us, which is great.
that's good. Sounds really good. Um, well, you mentioned the publisher there, and for EGX, can you maybe give us a sneak peek scope-wise what players or anyone attending your stand could expect from your project?
Yeah, I mean, we're going for sort of the casual gaming market, so
Mhm.
it's sort of open to everyone, but we're aiming it at families. So, getting kids involved, getting when your aunts and uncles are around for Christmas and stuff, bringing out bin chickens and having a go. Because I think that's one of the things that Jackbox isn't really good for, is that it's not really targeted towards, you know, or it's not really successful in those areas.
Mhm.
For us, we're looking to definitely go for the party game with your friends and family kind of thing. So I'm expecting there'll be a load of like maybe like teenagers who are sort of interested in the lore and the character side of the bin chickens themselves, being quite mischievous, and then families and kids and stuff like that as well.
Are you getting any voice actors for the seagulls you got, or is that just gonna be some bird sounds, or are they gonna have some personality in them?
I'm sure all of our staff are going to chip their voices into the mix, but we are definitely going for a kind of a local sort of humor. So we're obviously located in Belfast, and we want to really like lean into that. There was a load of success in terms of the TV show Dairy Girls and stuff, and how that kind of survived in different like national markets and stuff like
Mhm.
that. It apparently did quite well in America and New Zealand and stuff like that. So that kind of gave us the confidence to be like, yeah, let's tell sort of local stories and use local humor in the whole thing. So we're getting some Northern Irish voice actors. I definitely think. But we also, I think we need like one or two maybe American or English characters as well, just to sort of like allow for an easier sort of transference of culture. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, we're
yeah.
definitely going to have to get some voice actors in for this.
Nice, great. Look forward to it. Okay.
Same, same.
As we are finishing up, you can give us any shout outs or any more insights you want to say about your game. Stage is yours.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Just find us at EGX. Come up and say hi. We're a really friendly bunch. And definitely follow us on our socials. You can find all of those linked at the Aura Digital Studios website. So that's auradigitalstudios.com. I'll stick some stuff in our Discord and socially as well. And then we also have our Bin Chickens Twitter account too, which is going fairly strong. So yeah, just keep following us. We'll put out posts whenever we've done something. And yeah, I can't wait to meet you all.
Great, good stuff. Okay, it was a pleasure speaking to you, Josh. Thank you for the insight to your magnificent project. I look forward to it. I love the theme. I love the theme. Seagulls are
100%.
bizarre.
Thanks for having us.
The most bizarre birds ever. I thought they were cool up until I started living nearby water for longer than a month. It's crazy. Anyways, on that, I'll take us on to a short break as I prepare the next team, who is our last for today, last but not least. Okay, speak to you guys shortly. Hello and welcome, guys. Now we have the last but very much not least, Sparky Cat Studios and their wonderful member James. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so give us in a few words, sentences, just tell us a bit about your team, how you guys came together, and yeah, let's start there.
Sure. So we got together at uni, sort of making the actual group Spike Cat Studios. We've all done a couple of game jams together and all of that. Me and Jess, a partner, have known her for many years beforehand, but my other
Mhm.
teammate Bobby, we met him at uni. Yeah, and yeah, we just done a few game jams, done a few game projects before, and we thought, well, yeah, might as well try and do it properly now, I guess.
Nice. Okay, so was the was finding out about the transfuser like the moment when you went, okay, this is doable, or how did you when did you decide that, hey, we want to go indie and we're gonna give it a go, you know?
Yeah, I think I always knew that I wanted to go indie. The course that I was on, games technology, it was all very industry focused, as if for working in industry for a
Mhm.
big company. And I just never liked the idea of that because it just sounded like it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Understandable.
But yeah, so I remember I was doing my masters and my tutor sent me the link for Transfuse. I remember just seeing it and being like, "Wow, this is awesome! This is like exactly what I wanted. Just
Yeah.
something that can actually teach me about going into industry as an indie rather than as a worker." So I was
Yeah.
very very excited since I found out about Transfuse.
So how has it been so far? How are you feeling with
Uh,
the whole journey?
yeah, really good. It's great. All of the talks that we've had have been amazing. My supervisor Dan Bernando, he's been absolutely awesome, so helpful in just every aspect of from running a company to you know different intricate parts of making a
Mhm.
game. But yeah.
Yeah. So we heard a lot from teams about that, trying to balance out like now you're not only developing but you're also running things. How is your team adapting to that?
Quite well. I say quite well. Yeah, yeah, we're doing good. I mean, we've all been fairly good at planning, restructuring. We've had to restructure our whole game idea like 2 or 3 times in the past, or since we've been starting at Transfuse. Because the idea to start with was so for my master's project, I made a basically anti-gravity driving system,
Mhm.
and so the idea was we just wanted to take that system that I'd made and make it into a game. So we've had a few different. So the main like basis building blocks of the game have been there from the start of Transfuse. It's just been deciding what to do with them, and
I
then
see.
changing what we do afterwards.
Okay. you had the building blocks. It was the matter of finishing it off and adding in
Yeah,
the
so sort of
furniture.
what style do we go for? What actual game loops do we add in?
Mhm.
We wanted to make it interesting, but still good.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah. I'll just take us to the gameplay, and you can maybe talk us through how uh, what the game is about, like scope-wise. What are you looking to create based on what you just described?
Sure. So the gameplay footage you see now has a lot of 2D character interaction, and we've basically not scrapped that, but we're going to have a lot less of that than we were planning on having before.
Mhm.
Um, so before I skip, the idea was to merge anti-gravity racing games with like a resource management sort of game. So you're gonna basically go out into little levels, drive around, gather stuff, come back and use the stuff that you gathered to build up your home base, to upgrade your vehicles, to get a better workshop, to upgrade your vehicles further, and to explore the map further. There'll be obstacles that you'll have to, get crafted materials to bypass, that sort of thing.
Mhm. I see.
So what we're actually planning on doing for the EGX, we were going to have a gathering mission and a bit at the start where you talk to some characters and that. But after our feedback, we decided to change that completely. So we're not talking to any characters anymore. We're just doing a race, and we're also going to decide to add in a chase scene. So we're going to add in a mechanic where every
Okay.
time you come back to the map, you know how much stuff you've got back at base, and occasionally a bandit might try and steal it, and then you'll have to go into a fast-paced chase scene where you've got to chase down the bandit before they get away with your stuff, basically.
Okay. Nice. I think there is a huge I feel almost like a content shock going from the 2D images. I feel like to
Yeah,
this amazing racing system that makes me think like I'm not too much of a Star Wars fan, but there is that always
there's a
one
little bit of
that
pod racing element there.
there is that one scene where they have those spaceship and when they race them, that is really cool. I like that, and it all looks almost like that. So that system is definitely working out in your advantage certainly. So getting like to this point and like going forward, what do you reckon the team is like having to tackle the most, that requires the most focus from you guys?
So I think assets at the moment, we
Mhm.
finally decided on a style. So at first we were looking at kind of realistic, like the footage that you're seeing now is, and then we went for a very um, stylized footage, like this one here that
Yeah,
you can see now. It's
it's lovely. It's looking
it's
good.
I say a lot more wobbly.
Yeah.
We tried to do like a sort of sketchy cell shader was what we were trying to accomplish, but with the vehicle moving so fast, it just didn't work very well. So now we've changed it again, so it's still
Okay.
cell shaded and stylized, but a lot more cartoony rather than sketchy. So it's sort of cleaner and it pops a lot more, a lot brighter.
I see.
So we finally decided our styles, and now it's just making all of the assets that we're going to need for it.
Mhm. So
So
everything.
basically, like,
Yeah. Go on.
sorry. So we've made a couple of levels, and we've made a full upgrade system for the vehicle, so you can change the paint schemes and different meshes on different parts of it, so you can have a completely different looking vehicle. So it's just making the assets now, making the environment assets, basically.
That's great. Yeah. You are mentioning environment. What about because I'm pretty sure we even saw in this video, in that build, you had some editing to the spaceship, I guess we can call them.
Yeah, we call them the hover vehicles, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we've got two separate vehicles you can pick from, and you'll be able to do that in the demo at EGX. So one is this one, like the jet, and there's another one that's sort of like a pickup truck that's been converted into a hover vehicle, a lot
Right.
more junkier and
We
scrappy.
have it on
Like,
screen right now, I believe. Yeah.
oh, sorry, my screen's a couple of seconds behind.
No, no worries, no worries.
Um, so sorry, what was I saying?
We were talking about the two kinds of vehicles because it captured my eye, like if there will be like customizations and such, because I saw you can change the color, which I found really cool. And also the movement you have in the game, Looks great. It's lovely. I think especially when the player is able to go from flat surface, being on the flat surface, to now going vertical and still gaining momentum and sort of moving through that way. It really expands how I think they can move around the level, which I think is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that is another system we had to change quite a bit. We had so in the video you can see with the longer red and green car, you can fully rotate yourself up and down, and
Mhm.
that was a cool thing that we had. But it was very difficult to make the gameplay smooth with that much movement.
Mhm.
So we ended up going for a more generic version in the end where you can't actually rotate up and down, but you can go onto any surface
I
completely upside
see.
down or
Okay.
loop or anything, and it just made it for a much smoother. We can make much faster paced levels.
That's good. That's good. I'm not sure I asked about your inspirations. We spoke briefly about Star Wars because it came to my mind, but were there any games or shows, anything that made you want to create this? Like, where did this come from?
I think my initial inspiration came from a game called Distance that I really like. My friends play it a lot. It's just a really fast-paced game, sort of physics-based vehicle time trials. And then in
I
terms of
know it.
making it anti-gravity,
Yeah.
yeah. So and for making it anti-gravity instead, now I think I just decided to, but I think it came from my deep love of Jack and Dexter, and they've got a
Okay.
load of driving levels in it with a hover vehicle. And I looked at it the other day and I was like, oh, this is just like Jack and Dexter. I didn't even realize. Okay.
Nice.
So I think it's a combination of those two.
I see. That's great. And then something we haven't touched on, but I'm really curious about, is like the gameplay loop. You mentioned the bandits stealing stuff from the player, then they have to go into a chase. What is what is a gameplay loop like someone at EGX might expect from the game?
So we know we were told to not keep our demo any longer than 5 minutes because obviously people playing it and watching it won't be seeing any more than that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 3 levels ready, and we're basically going to give each person that comes up the option to: do you want to go and gather, do you want to try and beat a high score, or do you want to try and catch a bandit? And then beforehand, we'll show them how to upgrade or change what their vehicle looks like, and then go and do one of those 3 missions.
I would be going for the high score.
Yeah. we're actually going to get we've already ordered a like a Top Gear sort of board.
Oh,
It's got
that's
magnetic
genius.
strips
Yeah.
on, so we can let people set their high scores and slap it on the board next to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Do you have anyone from your team or even yourself who's currently like the top score setter or
Well, because I'm the one that does all the coding and the level design, I assume me, because once I actually got everything working, I found I've spent more time just driving around the levels than actually making them, which is a bit of an issue.
That's a good sign. It means the
But
game is playable and it's enjoyable.
that's true,
Yeah.
hopefully. But yeah, I think we'll probably get me, or all 3 of us, to do a high score, and then we'll set that as the like gold, silver, and bronze standards, depending on which one's best, I suppose.
There we go. There we go. It's really nice to hear that you're like looking to, how to make the stand fitting to what your project is and sort of engage with the audience.
Yeah, just sort of a way,
Yeah.
because I saw the picture that we're going to be all like right next to each other in a long line.
Yeah.
So you need something that sort of helps you stand out, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And then in terms of engaging with your audience, how much of that have you done and how much did that help throughout your development of the game?
So that's all Jess's thing. She does all the socials. She's just been posting once a week on each different social that we've got. Just to mention different things. I've got most of my like feedback and stuff I've just got from friends and family to play the game and get them to give me feedback, because one of the main issues with driving around so much when that you're building it is you get better with the controls, and suddenly I'm playing it like I'm an expert, but I need to occasionally watch a beginner play it.
Yeah.
You know, so I can understand what's too difficult and what's not too difficult.
Do you have a defined target market then, or are you just seeing whoever really will enjoy it?
I think we're definitely going for like teenagers and younger, with it, especially with the cartoony popping art style that we're going for now.
I
So yeah,
see.
about
Okay. Sounds great. Okay, as we are coming to a close of the stream, actually, you can tell us what's the biggest lesson you have learned throughout your time at Tranzfuser this far. This far.
This far
Yeah.
is publishers aren't bad, which was I came into this like I should never ever go near a publisher. They'll take away all of my IP rights and they won't let me do anything and they'll make me do things I don't want to do. But no, from talking to my supervisor and also all of the talks that we've had from
Mhm.
Transfuse, I've asked over and over again, and they keep telling me no. Publishers won't do that. It's not as scary as it's made out to be. Publishers are okay. They want you to succeed. So it's
Yeah. Your success is their success. So
exactly.
yeah, win-win. Okay. Last question then. Any milestones you want to hit at EGX? What's like the goal for the show?
In milestones, well, we'd like to get rid of all of our badges and stickers. I guess would be nice if every
Nice.
single if we're going to take a. Well, we're not sure how many to take actually, because I'm like we could get 100, we could get 200. I don't know how big it's going to be. I need to ask some people that have been before to get more of a visual on how many people are actually going to be there.
There might be a lot. There might be a lot.
A
Anyways,
lot. Yeah.
stage is yours for any shoutouts as we are finishing up.
A shout out to Jess and Bobby if they're sat in stream. They better be. But yeah. That's
Okay.
all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. And guys, I'll be back with you shortly for some goodbyes. And yeah, don't go anywhere. Chat to you soon.
Thank you.
Hello. And just like that, we've gone through 8 teams today. Big, gigantic day. So 8 teams done, and next Friday, so that's the 2nd of September. Tune in. We're gonna have another last 7 teams participating in this year's Transfuser 2022. So be sure to share the stream. Make sure to follow so you don't miss the stream. There's gonna be some amazing teams, some great games. We'll be able to get more insight, and pick their brains and see what's going on behind all the promotional stuff. So anyhow, that's all from me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I wish you a great Monday. Actually, I think that should be a norm to wish people a great Monday. Have a great Monday after the weekend. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next Friday. And just as a reminder, Transfuser will be at EGX in London this year. So all of these teams that are showcasing their games, they'll be showcasing at EGX, and you'll be able to play their game and speak to the devs in person as well. Right. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.